Hello and welcome to the Sacred Ranbow Current Global Online Summit, bringing together the multifaceted custodians of our planet and humanity to reveal deep truths, wisdom and tools to enable the guardianship of our planet for the future generations. Sacred protection, connection and the holding of earthly and cosmic light portals is potent to humanity's highest timeline ascension. My name is Kerry McCrory, and I am your summit host and creator, airing from the Valley of Cunniglen in the central Sperrin Mountains of Northern Ireland, Éire. My mountain is Spatna, and my river is the little streams that merge from the mountain top into the burn, into the valley below. Today, I am absolutely delighted to introduce you all to Patricia Lehman from the landscapes of Egypt, a landscape that has opened its arms for Patricia as if in wait for a long-lost daughter returning home. Patricia is also soulfully connected to the beautiful forests and lakes of Bucks Country, Pennsylvania, in the Americas. So Patricia is a symbologist. She's a speaker, a researcher, explorer, writer, and intuitive life counselor. As a long-time student in metaphysical, spiritual, and indigenous traditions, Patricia's eclectic spiritual background serves as a strong foundation to support her work. Patricia began her exploration of the nature of this reality from early childhood. Her lifelong passion to know why and how we exist led her to the in-depth study of the historic sciences as well as the physical sciences, comparative religions, ancient literature, mythology, art, history, and symbolism. Patricia spent most of her childhood exploring and observing the cycles of nature within the streams, the lakes, the forests and fields that surrounded her family's home in Bucks Country, Pennsylvania. Working many years as an architectural artist, she learned much about the energetic nature of structure, of colour theory, and how we experience the world around us through our visual sense. All of this was an incredible preparation for the level of research that Patricia is currently undertaking in Egypt. The Neteru, mythology, structure and symbolism of ancient Kemet, Egypt, all combine to give us a brilliant vision and understanding of the genesis of mankind and how we eternally cycle through dimensions and stages of consciousness. They have provided an alchemical map for how we can work with these natural and archetypical energies and patterns in order to traverse these dimensional portals in any now moment. So Patricia became a student of the work of the Egyptian indigenous wisdom keeper Abd'el Hakim Awyan on her first trip to Egypt in 2005. Patricia has now lived in Egypt for more than 16 years and devotes much of her time to the research of ancient symbolism and mythologies worldwide. She has travelled to many ancient sites globally, researching clues that support the concept of a very advanced civilization on technology and a spirituality level that once spanned the globe. And I really believe this, it spanned the globe for thousands of years, and it left a legacy of knowledge and wisdom for us to decipher. So Patricia, I cannot thank you enough for being with us today and bringing us this beautiful presentation that you're going to share with us. And the presentation is called Awaken the Spirit Within.
Thank you so much, Kerry. I'm honored to be here, and I'm so glad that you included me and invited me to be part of this conference. And I'm so excited about what we're going to talk about today, because it is so important right now. that, you know, we have this opportunity, and it comes in cycles. This is what I've learned, and everywhere that I've been and everything that I've studied, that, you know, consciousness rises and falls, and it does this in any given breath. We can go through this in any moment, but it's happening within the patterns of our environment. And so it's, you know, so many people say we were, you know, we all chose to be born now because that we're at the precipice of something huge, and we are. And it's so exciting. And we have access to something that we haven't had, you know, seemingly. I think it's always been there, but because of what's happening in the universe within our galaxy, I believe that there is it's almost like, you know, there is a field of energy that's breathed out from our galaxy, and it's entered our solar system. And I believe this is going to initiate a great awakening. And if we're in sync with it, if we're knowledgeable, if we're aware of it, we can take advantage. And it can literally change the way we perceive reality. And it's exciting. It's so, you can feel it. So many people have told me, I feel it. I feel different. Something's happening. And I know I've been feeling it lately as well.
Yes, it's so strong, Patricia.
Oh.
And I feel like Egypt has something very special about it, the rainbow to bring to us all. There's some sort of integration
Mhm.
that we're probably all going through, but we're not conscious of it. But like you say, it's bringing it to consciousness.
It is. It's coming into our consciousness now. And I think so many people are feeling it, but they don't know how. We're in a state of consciousness where we like to wrap everything up and tie it up and, you know, give it a label and say, this is it. And we're beginning to feel things that we can't put a label on. It's something entirely new. And I find that so many people, their intuition is being heightened, and they're beginning to be aware. They can feel energies. They're seeing things. You know, we describe them in our world as supernatural events, miracles. But in the ancient world, in a totally entirely different state of consciousness, which I call right brain, we could feel, you know, we did know it wasn't supernatural. It was completely natural. It was the way they lived. They felt the connection to everything that is. And that's sort of what I want to bring forth today, is to talk about that, and then talk about how we can participate in this awakening process.
Yeah.
Understanding what it is we're going through, and eliminate any hesitation or fear that any of this is not normal, that it's supernatural, or, you know, miracles don't happen to me. Well, maybe they do. Maybe this is the time that the miracles begin to happen, and we start to accept it as our natural world.
And I think as well, Patricia, we seeds can be planted. So like you say, we're very right brain, we're very busy, we're very active, we've blocked a lot of that out. But I think if we reflect and we go back on our life, we'll all find somewhere, if we look for it, that little seeds, maybe these wee seeds of consciousness have been planted into us. And it even sort of brings me back to, like, I was so, oh my God, so blessed to go to Egypt this year and experience some of what you'll be sharing today and the sacred sites. But back in the 1990s, whenever I trained to do my aromatherapy, and I remember in the streets in Belfast, there was a man, and he was selling papyrus paintings of Egypt. And, you know, I didn't know anything about Egypt or Egypt's culture. The only thing I knew about Egypt was Cleopatra. I'm sorry, and that's nothing.
Everybody knows about
That was
Cleopatra.
the only thing I knew about it. But anyway, whenever I seen these pictures, something drew me in. And I remember I bought a couple. So one was like, I think it's the newt of the body leaning over the cosmos.
Yeah.
One was also the three ladies with the musical instruments,
Yes,
which was,
beautiful one.
yeah, which was at the airport whenever, you know, it was like, whoa, there it is. And you know, then that was put away. You know, that was put away in Egypt, now didn't come back. Whenever I say put away, it was hung in a room. It was still given a special place. It's in the guest room. but it was put to the back burner until a few more seeds came in. So I do think them, like these wee seeds, if we look for them, they're there.
How it works.
Yeah.
That's our higher, I like to call it our higher selves, for, needing to put a label on it. But that's the conversation we have with that side of ourselves that has that right brain consciousness, has that ability to feel that unity. And it's always speaking with us. Some would call it, the Ba. In Egypt, they call it the Ba, the spirit that can move into and out of the body, and has that higher understanding, full view of what we're experiencing. But that's even believing that we are our bodies and we're not, we're so much more, and this is the problem with labels. So there's so many discussions we could get into, but I think it's that part of ourselves that lays these seeds out for us and kind of nudges us to that's the heart. That's the communication we actually have with our heart. And we've been taught in a left brain consciousness to suppress our heart, to not show our hearts, that, the heart makes us vulnerable and we need to be strong. And I think this is a lot of what I'm going to talk about today, that it's the heart that knows. It's the heart, we need to express our hearts, show our hearts. What's wrong with being vulnerable? It's the beginning of the most exciting journey we could go on, to open our hearts and be who we are, and how quickly we step into our power when we allow this to happen. We don't need to hide anymore.
And I love the way the word art is hid in the heart. Like that's your art.
Yeah.
It's in
Yeah.
your heart.
Yeah. This absolutely.
Yeah. So, do you want to go on ahead and show the presentation now, Patricia?
Let's do that. And if I get done early, good luck. We hope. And we have time to, to talk a little bit more. So I will go ahead and share it and we'll get started. And like I said, feel free to interrupt and we can talk about things.
Okay.
So let's see. There we go. Cool. So yes. Okay. Just got to get rid of all the things covering the presentation. Beautiful. So I use these images because they both express so much of what I want to talk about, which is, that spirit within us, related to the heart. It's the divine feminine energy. It's the Sophia. And today I want to talk about, a little bit of what that is, how we got to where we are now, and how we can find and go deep and find that inner light, that light within that is our Sophia, our divine, it's the divine wisdom, and it's the life force of everything in this three-dimensional perspective. That's what the divine feminine is. It's the waters. They call it the watery illusion. In India, they call it Maya. That's what this perception is. And it's literally charged by the divine feminine life force. And this, in a patriarchal paradigm that we've been going through for thousands of years, a few thousand years, is literally suppressing that energy, that wisdom, and that life force with, it's suppressing it to the state that we've lost touch with it. And so I want to talk about that and how we bring that knowing, that energy forward again. So I wanted to start out, I know we're recording this now, but you're going to be presenting this during the, right around the December solstice time. And so this is a wonderful picture that I took when I was with a friend and her son last December at Karnak. And this is such an amazing event because the sun rises and it literally, it rises and it shines down the center path of this temple. And the temples are laid out as basically the breath of the body. and the chakras of the body. So we're sitting right before the Holy of Holies, and in a moment I'll go inside. But that light shines, and it's literally Horus, this ascended form of Osiris, who is us. We are Osiris in this perception of reality, in the symbolism of ancient Egypt. And he ascends, he resurrects, he rises from the underworld, the darkness, as his ascended self, Horus, rising on the horizon to awaken all of these seeds of consciousness that are our chakras, right? And it's a beautiful thing because it literally awakens these altars. And the word altar itself is where we get the word, our phrase altering consciousness. It all has to do with this great moment of awakening when this liquid light from the heavens, this new sun, SONSUN, comes and shines its light and awakens every seed throughout the temple. And I sat there and I imagined what it would be like to have been there in ancient times when the people came together to celebrate this incredible sacred moment. It was so powerful. I can't describe it. I want to do it again and again. And what's really fascinating is that this has been done since ancient times. They erected stones and then stone circles, and then the stone circles became temples. And, I heard someone say, the word temple is where we get the word tiempo. It's marking time and space. And this is what the stone circles were doing, marking time and space in a world that we fell into, that we no longer had, suddenly we're in a place of linear time and space. And so we're marking, where are we at in this, this journey of perception. And I find it fascinating. And I could talk for hours about that, but there's so much more to share. But this is literally, a jubilee of light and rebirth, celebrating this embodiment of this spark of divine, this divine spark of life. And here are two pictures of the Holy of Holies. You were with us, Kerry, at the Holy of Holies in Karnak.
That's right.
And it's just, you can see how ancient this place is, and it's built with these megalithic. It's not the most megalithic, but they're megalithic, granite blocks. They're huge. And there is that seed device, the altar, if you will. And they would have had at one time during dynastic times these images, these barks, where they'd celebrate each one of the netters. And the netters were known to be forces of nature. And these are the forces of nature that make up this perception of reality. And so that sun that's coming on the winter solstice, which represents a moment of silence on our journey. We've come to a still point, and the sun rises and it awakens the spirit, the seeds within all of these barks all throughout this temple. And all of the temples celebrated this moment. And it marks the moment we move into a new day cycle. In other words, everything in a dual world, when we fall into form, when we experience the body, we have to have a positive, a yin and the yang. So it's sort of, we have both sides of self. We call it masculine and feminine. Some people call it good and evil. I don't believe in good and evil. I believe in yin and yang. And in Egypt, when they had Set and Horus, Set and Horus, they have, at some point, you can see the symbolism of one body with the faces of Set and Horus coming out of the neck, two sides of the same coin. It's our duality within. And it's a beautiful way of expressing it. We have the two sides of self, and we've been taught to suppress one side of ourself instead of embracing it and transmuting it into something more beautiful. And I think this is part of being in this left brain separation consciousness, where we think, that you and I are different when we're both you know, two aspects of the same thing. We all come out of this same beautiful heart of consciousness, which I will show, and we'll get into that. So here it is celebrated as, you know, this is an awakening of the forces of nature from their containment in the darkness of form. And this is the resurrection. This is the resurrection of the forces of nature, but it's also the resurrection of Osiris, the resurrection of mankind, into another perception of reality. And this is what I'm talking about, awakening the spirit within, the life force, unity consciousness, the ability to feel our connectedness to everything that is. That's what Christmas is all about. That's what the solstice is all about. The silent sun before, you know, everything changes, you know, up until the winter solstice, the days just keep getting darker and darker. And then we have 3 days of silence, the silent sun. And suddenly the days begin to get longer and longer. It's in an annual cycle, our solstices represent changes in the cycle, just like we have midnight and, you know, we have dusk and dawn. And we have these stages in every aspect of our cycle, including our breath. We breathe out into separation consciousness, and there's a moment of silence. We breathe out, stop. And then we inhale back to center, back to our hearts. This is beautiful. This is the expression of everything in nature. And I believe we're at the winter solstice in our journey on our great year. People who are familiar with the precession of equinoxes, you know, we have these moments in, as I said, in every cycle, you know, midnight and noon, we have it at the solstices. Equinoxes represent those moments of equal nights. It's represented by the 4 fixed signs of the zodiac. But it, you know, what I'm really getting at is these cycles exist. They're nature's cycles. And when we're in the flow of nature's cycles, we find balance. And when we fight them, we find chaos. So let's continue. And because we're moving into Christmas, I always love this aspect of one of the Christmas carols, and let heaven and nature sing. And that's what it's all about, this great awakening that, you know, when you're in nature, and I know Kerry can identify with this just like I could when I was young. You know, you wake up in the sun, you see the sun's rays coming through the woods, and everything awakens and the birds sing, and you feel this moment that heaven and nature is singing. That's what the solstice represents. And that's what this whole presentation is about. You know, we can let heaven and nature sing in any given moment. And so I wanted to start out by explaining, you know, I said this is all Maya, watery waveform. And Kerry, you brought up Nut and the papyrus that you had bought. And this is literally, you know, this is an image of Nut in the lower right-hand corner. And she has this jar on her head. And that jar is called the Nut jar. And it contains the sacred waters of the heavens, right? She is the womb. She is, you know, she is the Milky Way, but the womb that gives birth to this perception of reality as this illusion of watery waveform. That container, that's us, right? This is the perception of being in physical form. And it's also described as noir. You see the image I have with the arrow pointing to it, and that's the Nut jar. That's the womb of primordial waters that gives birth to life, with the image of the sun. And this is light. We are all liquid light falling into form. We are light. This is what we've forgotten. I mean, Hakim, Kerry brought up that I had come to meet and study with Hakim, Abd'el Hakim Awyan. He was known as a knowledge holder here in Egypt, indigenous. He's since passed in 2008. Incredible man who learned so much. He changed how people viewed ancient Egypt with some of the things that he brought forward. He developed the science of chematology, And we call ourselves chematologists, but really it addresses everything that Egyptology doesn't touch on. Uh, but what he used to tell us, and I have a little video of him in the presentation that I think you're gonna like, but he would tell us to say with him, and it seems kind of hokey, but he'd tell us to say, you know, the light surrounds me, the light goes through me, I am the light. And he'd make us say it and say it and say it louder, and then he would say an old Comitian prayer. But when you say it in unison and you say it and you say, why am I saying it? You begin to embody and embrace that concept that we are, that form, the body is the illusion, and we are light beings. And in ancient Egypt, you know, the thing that everybody wanted to become was called the Akh, and the Akh was our light being. It's literally allowing the physical perception to dissolve and remember that you are the light. And that reminds you that light is connected to everything that is, and it's powerful. You know, light enters a dark room and everything's bright and light. You know, that darkness can't do that. That's how powerful light is. Very simple explanation. And so you see, this whole concept is powerful. We are made up of Nut. We are these primordial waters of wisdom. And here's, I just love this image. I took it at Siwa, inside a tomb. I think it's like 600, 3 to 600 AD. But it speaks to the sacred feminine.
Where is this tomb, Patricia?
This is in Siwa. It's an oasis up in the Delta. Well, not really in the Delta. It's way up in the northwest on the border of Libya. But it's a wonderful place, very healing place. It has all these wonderful hot springs, and you can go out in the desert and you can see the Milky Way in all its glory. It's a beautiful, we call it a healing place. It's a long drive to get there, but it's a beautiful place. And it's where the Oracle of Alexander the Great is. And you can still go into some of those ancient buildings, and the Oracle is still there. A state of disrepair, of course. But it's a wonderful place to go when if you stay a little longer after a tour in Egypt. But anyway, you know, what we're seeing is Nut. You see the new jar, and she is the olive tree in this particular depiction. And she's offering, you know, the olive oil as the gift of life. You see the ankhs coming out of the jar of olive oil. And so she's offering vitality from this precious oil from the olive tree. And in a way, she's showing us all liquids and currencies surge within or emerge from her womb, providing this life force and breath in the time-space continuum of this perception of reality. And the idea is, you know, when we maintain the integrity of the flow of nature's currents and cycles, and this is within, you know, within our body and without, we are blessed with peace and harmony as Ma'at. Ma'at represented balance and harmony. Just, you know, just this idea that we have this in us, we have this, you know, and when we can remember who we are and our connectedness to all that is, we will have, you know, it's sort of like when you know that, you know, you're connected to everything in the universe, why would you hurt another living, breathing thing? Because you're only hurting yourself. And I think this is the key to get to that state of consciousness where you feel that connectedness.
Yeah, it's such a beautiful image of Newt with the olives.
Isn't
And
it?
and when you think of it as in the terms of color, you know, the olive is associated from our solar plexus till our heart, the bridge to the heart,
Yes.
but olive as a fruit as well. Olive, you know, it goes through a state of marination so that it can become like edible and of use to humanity. So it's
And
like Newt is embracing all of the processes, you know, be be they difficult, be they challenging, but be they pure bliss. And it's the embodiment of, so that is such a beautiful image to see her with the olive tree.
Oh, isn't it? I so totally agree with you. And even the idea of the olive, giving the olive branch for peace,
Yeah.
so many expressions that, come from these ancient understandings. But yeah, the divine feminine netters, netteru, forces of nature, you know, they often embody trees, the sycamore tree and all these different trees, because these are trees of life. And the men do as well. The masculine netters, Osiris and Ptah, are related to different trees, because we're rooted in the ground, and we're planted as seeds rooted in the ground, and then we develop this neural network of roots, and then we spring up to see the sun, and then we spread our branches and provide harvest. We have the olives here. It's just a beautiful expression of who we are.
Yeah, of how no element is ever wasted.
Exactly.
Yeah.
I like to say we were the netters. We are the netters, that we are forces of nature that walk the earth. We forgot that. We forgot that we are gods and goddesses. This is from Rumi. We are the sweet cold water in the jar that pours. We are everything that is. And this comes from Victor Schauberger. Some of you might recognize the name. He was a great researcher of water. He was a forester, environmentalist, inventor. And a lot of people really highly they recognize his work as being incredibly profound. And he says this, we are water. We forgot our inherent unity and power. We are nature, and we destroy our bodies. And we destroy our bodies. The unseen force of nature is who we are. It surrounds us, goes through us. We are made of this. We are primordial water. If the vehicle dies, we cease to flow. Reality doesn't exist as an action, but as a reaction. The highest wisdom passes through the brain directly to the heart. We must learn to think one octave higher. And this says so much, but it's really, it's a reminder to, we don't revere our bodies, and it would be, to be really cognizant of what we're feeding ourselves, what frequencies, what food are we putting into our bodies. It's the same thing as how are we treating nature. We use explosive technologies today that damage the earth. We use chemicals in our food and water that damage the body. And these chemicals and things that we're putting in our bodies and the explosive technologies, it's creating, air that's become poisonous. And so we're breathing in, air that's not fresh. Some of us have it worse than others. I know in Ireland and where you are, you have beautiful green land and beautiful air. But if you live in the cities, and it's, it's just, again, a reminder that if you revere your home, this is our home, this is our body, this is, our universe, we're part of it. And to bring all of that back into balance, this is living in perfect peace and harmony. I think that's what we're all seeking in some way. And the divine feminine is really interesting, because it's the feminine, it's the heart that wants to nurture and heal. And by suppressing that energy, we suppress that urge within community, within society, within mankind, to heal and nurture the land and ourselves. And another reason to bring that back out, to open our hearts and remember who we are. And here we have this wonderful image of Isis. and it's the vulture, it's Nekhbet protecting her with her wings, and she has the child in her lap, Horus. And Isis is Sirius, and she represents this divine, sacred, feminine energy. And Sirius is the Sophia, the wisdom. And, you know, again, this is what we've been suppressing in a patriarchy, in a patriarchal paradigm. And it's the nurturing love of the mother, the healing love of the mother, the unconditional love of the mother. The mother can move mountains if something is threatening her child. You know, I've heard about women that can lift up heavy cars if their child is underneath it. And I had cats here in Egypt that I remember back when I lived in the village, you know, they would give birth to these big litters, and the mothers would run the male cats right off the roof if they got anywhere near the kittens. That's the protective love of the mother. That instinct, that is what brings us back to protecting our environment, protecting each other, and remembering that we all are in this together. We want to have a better world for our children.
And I know this is so true what you're saying, Patricia, because I know where I live, you know, the landscapes have been threatened. And once that the landscapes like that, that is the future of our children.
Yeah.
You know, and so many people in Ireland Aru have been sort of activated, what I would call brought to consciousness again through defending what we're all entitled to, which is nature, which is everybody's God-given right to have that, to breathe it, to be with it. So it's so true that the love is so immense that it's what's running us, the light of love.
And when we talk about these things, you know, we're not talking about men versus women. We're talking about that energy within us. We have the masculine and feminine within us. That's the two sides of ourself. And even men have been taught to suppress, especially men have been taught to suppress their feminine side, their heart. You know, don't show your heart, that makes you look weak. We're taught that in school, women as well. And when I talk about this Sophia within, this heart within, this is all of us. And that is allowing that beautiful feminine side to come out, that vulnerability. Why are we afraid to be vulnerable? That vulnerability offers us, you know, that opportunity to step into our power, show who we are. And we're so concerned with what people will think. And yet, you know, in the whole scheme of things, we're all, you know, the only thing that matters is you, because we, you know, we're all each other's mirrors. And if somebody's having a bad day and they don't like the color of your shirt, you know, who cares? It doesn't matter. You know, if you like the color of your shirt, that's what matters. If you like to wear your hair a certain way, you know, these things are what make us sing inside. We need to be able to show our inner light again and not be afraid to show.
And the balancing is the acceptance of each other, you know, and picking that up from what you're saying. It's making room and the acceptance of variety. And you know, one of the things that about Egypt and seeing all the glyphs and all the, you know, one of the things that really sticks in my mind is, you know, you could see that the masculine and the feminine were really supporting each other, that they had each other by, you know, the shoulders, and they were, you know, that really entered me whenever we were doing all the temples, that mutual respect and love, you know, the mother, the father, the child, it was really present in everything, you know, every single temple. The only one that was maybe a wee bit different was whenever down in the south, the Abbey symbol. But having said that, even though they had one temple that maybe had some more traits that went towards, well, we could use the word war, or we could use the word protecting. It was
Yeah.
as if, even to balance that out, the other temple and the other rock, so even there, it had to be balanced.
Yeah, it was, you're right. You're right,
Yeah.
definitely. Well, and that's something the ancients really understood. It was literally everything that they showed us was this balancing of the two sides of self, the polarity, and bringing us back to our center. And they understood. I've talked about this right brain, left brain consciousness, but didn't fully, describe how that works. So left brain consciousness, we hear people saying, "Oh, you're too left brain." Left brain consciousness, there's nothing wrong with it. It's beautiful, it's analytical, it's the mind, it's the ability to, mathematicians are really left brain, because they can describe our world, and with mathematical equations. This is all left brain. But it's also separation consciousness. So they call it the patriarchal paradigm. It's separation. It's feeling that, we are separated. And that comes from that breath that's gone out, and we've separated from source, the heart. We can't, where's the heart? We're living from the mind, and we've forgotten to actually consult with the heart, who knows? It's the wisdom, it's the Sophia within. I had an experiment years ago, and I told myself I was only going to listen to my heart, and miracle after miracle was happening. And I found my way to this one. I moved from Pennsylvania to New Mexico, and lived the 8 most blissful years of my life. I was so happy, and all I did was listen to my heart. And it was wonderful. And it's not that I'm not doing it now, but every cycle brings you new and different lessons. But I learned so much from that it's okay to just go out, be impulsive, follow your feelings. And I remind myself to do that today. I get my head into the research, and back into left brain, and I have to balance that by giving myself the time to go into my heart. But yes, yeah, it's really incredible. Right brain consciousness is, the intuitive. It's the creative potential. They identify this with the divine feminine, because the feminine womb, they really held the womb sacred in ancient Egypt for its ability to bring forth life. It contains the spark of life. And so, the woman was always, the wisdom keeper of every early tribe. She was the man has his role as the protective force of nature in his own way. And again, I'm not talking men and women, although it seemingly I am. But it's more about that again, nurturing, healing, unconditional love. This protective love of the mother was the driving force in the ancient times. And we see it in different places in the world. And that turning from right brain into left brain doesn't happen overnight. It's a process. So we sort of, as we go through cycles, we come out of these moments of stillness, solstices, and we come out in this high state of consciousness, and slowly, slowly we move from one side of, from right brain into left brain. And then there's a reversal, and we move back into right brain. So it enables us. People would say, why would we do this? And it's because we're on this journey. So I'm going to continue, because I do have things that I'll show you to talk about what I'm going to say. But it's a process of moving through these cycles, and I think to myself sometimes, are we really, is it really something that we have to go through over long periods of time? And it's not. And I think this is why they left us the symbolism and the mythology, and they've embodied these principles and their structures to show us that we can change, we can balance, we can find, we can balance the two hemispheres of the brain in any given breath. That's what the yogic breath in India represents this knowing that we can change our reality like that by remembering. And we're in a state of consciousness today where I think we've forgotten who we are and how powerful we really are. This is a wonderful image from the Coptic Museum in Cairo, and it's showing this image again of this divine feminine. She's the mother, she's the Virgin Mary. Some have said she's Mary Magdalene. It's the same idea, the same energy. And that seven-petaled seashell is these seven, like the aspects of frequency, the life force, the highest form as the womb. So they say exoterically, the shell represents the sheltering and nurturing principle. Esoterically, the deep knowing, it embodies the life force slumbering within the earth as a symbol of the womb. And this is us, we're that part of ourselves is asleep, and that's why they keep telling us, it's wake up, this is the great awakening. It's awakening the light within, the heart within. And again, here's that shell image, and a lot of you might be familiar with the shell symbolism, and it is the divine feminine, it's the womb, it's the omega. And here, this is from a Coptic part. They've taken part of the temple of Hathor at Dendera and made it into a Coptic church. So we have a church at, an ancient Egyptian temple, and it's offering the same expression that Hathor does as the womb that gives birth to the seed, which is Horus. And here you see the hawk, the eagle, as the alpha. It's the alpha and omega. This whole concept. So as I said, I would talk a little bit about, we fall into form. I say in the age of Taurus, if you're looking at the great year, it's that moment, that we basically, physicality, many cultures call this the death, or we are asleep. Some say Osiris falls asleep. But, we become, all of humanity is Osiris. And in Egypt, if anybody physically died, the whole concept was they had to become one with Osiris in order to rise into their light body. And so in a way, they're telling us in this moment, we are dead in the underworld. We right now, the image on the far right is Osiris. He's not wrapped in mummy. Originally, he wasn't wrapped in linens. That was something that came later. That was the priests starting a whole new story. But originally, when you see Osiris, he's wrapped in his wings. And that's us, that's the caterpillar in the cocoon. That's, the seed planted in the earth. We're wrapped in our wings. We forgot how powerful we are. Some would call this hell on earth. It is separation consciousness, not knowing, not feeling the connectedness of that, the feeling you're in unity with all that is. That's a blissful moment. People describe that in their near-death experiences, where they go to this place where they feel like they're every cell and everything that breathes in the universe. And it's a moment of pure bliss. And yet something encourages them to come back into body because, we are here on purpose. We chose to be here to go through this journey. And the journey is the hero's journey of Osiris. This is Joseph Campbell came up with that phrase, but it's the story of Osiris. And this image that I have here is Osiris. He's looking back in time. He's looking back and he's waving goodbye. He's off. It's the Fool in the tarot deck, the 22 major arcana. He's looking back and he's waving goodbye to his son, Horus, wearing the double crown of being in that state of perfect harmony. And behind Horus, on the papyrus pillar, is his Sopdet, Sirius, Isis. It's the divine feminine. He's waving goodbye to right brain consciousness, and he's off on the journey to fall into form. He's not mummified at this point. This is what our dogma will tell us is Father, Son, and Holy Spirit. The divine spirit within is the Sophia, Isis. This was a cycle before, and then we move again. And as he goes forward, he's going to go into this journey of the dark night of the soul. And when he comes out, he becomes Horus again. These are the eternal cycles. And I remember I asked Hakim once, because he said these cycles happen over and over again. There's nothing new under the sun. And I said, oh, that sounds a little boring. I said, can't we grow? Can't we, go further? And he looked and he smiled and he went, oh, but we spiral. So we can spiral through dimensions. Again, we know so little, but this journey is exciting. We chose to be Osiris on this amazing journey of awakening. So yeah.
It's sort of like everything boils down to, from everything you've shared today, it's the experience. Like we come here, I would sort of feel this to experience, and experience on all planes from all perspectives. And that's so beautiful how you put it. Even though we do it, we're on a different spiral of it.
Well, it shows us that, we are in a physical perception, but we are interdimensional beings. And why would we only live in one aspect? We have many dimensions of beingness to explore, and we exist in them now. I truly believe we exist in all these different expressions, but because we're in this interesting, unique, three-dimensional perception, we think this is just it. I'm my body. I'm Patricia. That's all there is. And so because of that, I can be controlled by agendas that create fear. Hakim would say that the priests of Amun, right, of that time when we fell into form, developed the concept of death, that there was no word in ancient times, in ancient Kemet, for death. They understood, as I already mentioned this, or I might have mentioned that the sun goes down in the west, and it rises again. It doesn't die. It rises again. If you have faith, it rises again the next morning. Yes. And these cycles develop so much of our dogma in our world today. It's expressing the journey that we're on. And because of this knowledge being hidden from us, or we forgot it, we have forgotten all of this capability to move through dimensions and experience life in so many different ways. And there's so many people today in our world that have brought forward knowledge and have had experiences of this. And when you understand how it works, it begins to awaken this knowing within yourself that you have access to this. You have access to everything that they're talking about. It's within us. And the awakening isn't as hard as some might make us feel. It's literally jumping off that ledge to be who we are, and to show our hearts. So I want to introduce the concept of Sachet, because, she doesn't get the credit she deserves. She represents sacred geometry. She is the sacred liquid light that falls into all these patterns, sacred geometric patterns that create our expression of form, the three dimensions of physical forms. So all life forms as we know them emerge out of these patterns of energy in motion, the divine feminine. And it's the currency of the universe. That's why, I can say we're connected to everything that exists, multiverses, and it's conscious. This is what's mind-boggling, that everything, the heavens, the stars, plasma, liquid in all its forms is conscious. And there are people, you know, Massimo Emoto has talked about the consciousness of water, and Beta Austin today, who I've been, you know, working with and plan to work with in the coming year, or hopefully into the future, having conversations with water. This is amazing. And it opens doors for us for even self-healing. If we know we can communicate with the cells in our body, you know, we can communicate with the cells in water. We can heal our water. We can heal our body. We can, you know, unblock those blockages to the flow, the inner flow within and without, and find perfect health, not, you know, harmonic resonance. This is the deep message of everything I want to bring forward today, that, you know, it is just opening our awareness to the possibility that everything is conscious and we can connect with it. Wow.
The elements are definitely talking to us. And I remember years ago, back about 2009 or 10, a lady shared a book with me. I can't remember the name of the book, Patricia, but it was about the sacred properties of water. So I had read this information on the sacred properties of water, and where we worked in a town at this stage, and the water wasn't particularly tasty or good. It had to come through really old pipes and old things. So anyway, this is proof of the water talks to us. I was holding the glass, and I had a glass in my hand, and I was switching on the tap. And as I was switching on the tap, I turned around to the lady who had given me the book, and I started giving out about the dirty, stinking water. And honest to God, Patricia, as soon as the drop of water hit the glass exploded in my hand.
Oh, wow.
Honestly, Patricia. And it was, I was receiving the message at the time. It was like, you should know better, you know, after having read the book on the sacred water element. So like ever since then, it's like, just like the elements, or, you know, every element is so alive and conscious in our, like, I'm going to point to our temples here. This is our temple, and these beautiful elements that are springing in from the cosmos, they're having a dance inside us.
Yes.
They're
We don't
communicating
even know
with
it.
us.
But yes, exactly. Beautiful. Love that.
Yeah.
Beautiful. Yes, this is the key. This is so much. And Hakim told us we were all sachet in our highest state of consciousness, you know, and she is the grand architect. She creates this matrix, you know, that is the blueprint for our, you know, our reality. And we were all sesh, living in a peaceful, harmonic environment at one time. And so many cultures tell us this. We can hardly imagine that today. But if we can imagine feeling each other and feeling all of these, you know, everything in the universe, then of course we would move in unison. We would move in rhythm, because that we would feel our environment and choose it. I can only imagine how beautiful it would have been. And in Egypt, you know, the golden age was called Aten. And, you know, it was when we were the gods that walked the earth. You know, the ancients make this clear. You know, you know, some people translate this as, you know, the gods came down and told us how to plant. No, we came down. We were liquid light falling into form, who remembered who we were. And it was when we were all sesh. And Hakim said we had use of 360 senses. And I understand that as having full blown, like full circle consciousness capability. And the circle 360, these are all the colors, all the tones, all the sounds. It's all the archetypal energies. We understood it because it was us. We felt it. And so we walk the earth with all this incredible knowing. And the funny thing is, we still have it. We just forgot we have it. and this is why I say awakening the light inside. It's not finding it. It's not, changing something about yourself. It's just remembering who we are. I had moments when I was young. I remembered, the time that I could raise my hand and make, rainbows appear. I started playing with that when I was in New Mexico, and it worked. I was having so much fun. I don't need to do that today just to show myself something. But the awareness that we have this ability within us, I I remember a woman, an indigenous woman, that when she needed, when she was fed up with it was too dry, or she wanted the power back on, she'd lift her arms and say enough, and the lights would come on, or it would start to rain. And this is who we are. We have this within us, and it is remembering. And I'm going to talk about how we get there. Not that I have a magic formula, but there are keys. They left us hints. They left us ideas. This is actually Osiris at the Temple of Esna. We were there in January. We see, the imagery on the ceiling is so amazing. They have the same image of Osiris at this temple, but he's waving goodbye, and it's Sachet. So, it's Sachet as Isis is Sirius. All the divine feminine netters are one, just like we are all one. So all the masculine netters are one, but they separate out into archetypal energies. But here he's saying goodbye to when we were all Sesh. We were all Sachet. And he's off on his journey of conscious perception, the dark night of the soul. That's what the hero's journey is. We choose it. And I found this wonderful poem that seems to express this so beautifully. Only in my pain did I find my will. Only in my chaos did I learn to be still. Only in my fear did I find my might, my power. Only in my darkness did I see my light.
Beautiful.
We chose this because experiencing is a whole lot different than imagining. We can sit in that sea of gnosis and imagine what it would be like. And then something happens and we say, oh, I'm going to imagine myself into existence. And we live this wonderful illusion of form to experience space and time. So I saw this image of the eye, and it shows Ma'at. We fell out of Ma'at. This is what it's like to fall into form, and suddenly we're not in that sea of consciousness. We are suddenly in form. And we see this image. This is from the tomb of Nefertari. And do you know, Kerry, we were the last ones to get into that tomb. I had a tour in February, and something happened inside. There was damage, and they closed it. So nobody can go in again until maybe.
And it would be one of the places that sticks in my memory.
Yeah.
Very well. I was thinking of.
Oh, the imagery is gorgeous.
Just superb.
Totally. But this image from Ma'at was when you go through that one chamber on the inner columns as the gateway. On one side, you see Ma'at without the tear, and on the other side, you see her with the tear. And I think one is showing us, the two sides of self. When we're in harmony, when we're in our heart-based perception, it's a wonderful experience. And then when we're in disharmony, or what they would call isfit, the opposite of Ma'at, that's when she's, because we're not revering the forces of nature. It's so easy to understand that we've fallen into that place today. I don't have any judgment in where we're at, because it's all part of the journey. If we didn't fall into the darkness, we wouldn't understand how precious and blissful the light is. It's also, it's our signals for how to find that light again. When we become so saddened by living in this paradigm, I think we will find our way to the light. I can only hope. So a lot of people say, what is Sophia? It's, it stems from, the Suf. Sufis. That's where we get the word Sophia. It's the inner wisdom. From Carl Jung, he says Sophia is, as wisdom, is the personification of the Holy Ghost, that Holy Spirit. And the Holy Ghost has been understood as the mother of God, the womb that gives birth to everything. In the 1st and 2nd centuries, there were numbers of Christians who believed that Mary, the mother of God, was really a sort of allegory, a metaphor, and Sophia was the real mother. They're one and the same, of course. A Christian tradition describes a fall from infinite divine light into form. The path of Sophia is the journey back to enlightenment as a return to the divine. And it is through the wisdom that we can remember that this sacred light has always been within us. It's there. We have it. That's what's so incredible. I love the Black Madonnas. I went on a tour through France, started in Spain and through France and ended up at Roslin. But we got to see so many of these beautiful Black Madonnas that predate the story, the Christianity. These Black Madonnas, many of them are Isis. This Isis tradition from Egypt was so strong and migrated so far that you see images of her in areas all over, all the way to Russia and Europe, and but it's the same thing. It's not something different. This is a wonderful image on the left. I say my cup runneth over, but a friend of mine, a dear friend who is an Egyptologist, doesn't like to have his name mentioned, but he posted this on social media, and I love how they're holding the heart, within the cup. And the heart is the center of the universe, the place of wisdom and love. And the Egyptians said, who has a great heart has a gift of the divine. This is the ancient teaching. This is the knowing. And this image of Isis from Philae, it's from the rooftop of Philae, and you see the spirit of Horus coming, awakening within her womb, her wings. That's the awakened heart. This is what we're talking about. We're looking at a magnetic field, but the heart is the center of this expression. We have magnetic fields that surround the sun, surround the earth, they surround us, and it's generated from our heart. We have them around each one of our chakras, our endocrine system, our life force organs, but our heart is the strongest one that goes out and connects with everything in the world. So what we're thinking, our attitudes are affecting everything. That's how powerful we are. That's the ripple effect. The Holy Grail is the heart of consciousness. It's what we've all been seeking. It's our journey back to center. It's the heart, our primordial egg of unlimited potentials, the still point of our turning world. That search for the still point is a perennial spiritual quest, one that has inspired seekers since time immemorial. And if we can rest in that stillness, that moment of quiet, the sages say we will find the peace that surpasses all understanding. For in that peace and colorless stillness, we can find gnosis, our highest state of consciousness. And this is why we are encouraged to meditate. People who meditate, we find these articles everywhere, are the healthiest people. They're the most successful people in our world because they're taking that time to come back to their center. People can write books. They can create great works of art if they take those moments to allow that wisdom to come through, to listen to the power of the heart. It knows. And this is a beautiful quote. It's a translation of a quote from Rumi. And you have to really listen to what he's saying. To me, it describes unity consciousness. And he says, out beyond ideas of wrongdoing and right doing. Out beyond ideas of wrongdoing and right doing. There is a field. I'll meet you there. When the soul lies down in that grass, the world is too full to talk about. Silence. Ideas, language, even the phrase each other doesn't make any sense. See, that's what it feels like to get back to the heart. We don't feel, there's a you and a me. There's only an us. We don't feel there's a good and a bad. We have that still peace within, that harmony of feeling we're in the flow of everything that exists, the watery waveform that is the womb. It's a blissful state. You said it earlier, of complete acceptance, appreciation, and unity. Sounds, I always used to say I want my home to be a place that I can sink into. And this is exactly what I would want, a blissful state of complete acceptance, appreciation, and unity, a comfortable place to regroup before we go out on the journey again. And again, here is Sufi dancing. We have this in Egypt and in Turkey. We went to the place of Rumi and Konya and saw these wonderful Sufi dancers, whirling dervishes, they call them. And I got this from Dancing with the Divine, the history of mystical world of Sufism. And, they say the dance of the dervishes symbolizes the constant motion of all things in the universe, from the smallest atoms to the vastest galaxies, all part of a ceaseless cosmic dance. Rumi captures this holistic understanding of existence in his wisdom. You are not a drop in the ocean, you are the entire ocean, a drop. And this beautiful metaphor illustrates the unity of existence, the interconnectedness of all beings, and the immense potential that lies within us. Sufism invites us on a journey inward, encourages us to explore the depths of our hearts, to seek our connection with the divine, offering us a pathway to transcendence, a dance with the divine, and a journey into the profound mysteries of existence. And when you've seen the really authentic Sufi dancers, it is one of the most beautiful things you can see. They literally go into this trance. And it seems like they're going back in time. It's just an incredible thing to see. And so, like I've been saying, and I'll try. I know we've been going for a while. So
I will.
Do we need to stop at a certain time?
It'd be good to wrap it up soon if we could, Patricia, but I know I haven't said anything because I feel like this is the most important information that some people will ever receive. This is the learning. This is what we need to know, and it's never shared with us. So it's very hard to say, hey, cut, it's like.
Well, I know, I don't know what your schedule is, and
yeah,
I've
probably went a bit over the time.
Okay, then I'm going to go quicker because a lot of this is repetitive. Sometimes I think if we hear it over and over, we'll actually be able to embody and embrace.
And your imagery is so beautiful.
Some of these concepts. Here are some pictures that show this life force of the water. This is from a Coptic church in Cairo, and it's, Mother Mary, and her hands are in the Ka position. In Egypt, the Ka is the life force, the driving, the vitality of the body. This is the primordial. Everything I've been talking about is to return to the primordial state, that purified state where all the raw potentials exist. We have these within our grasps. We forgot how powerful we are. And so we're encouraged to go through self-purification, to find some way to balance ourselves within and rediscover the bliss of at-one-ment. The Hebrews call that atonement. The ancient Egyptians called it attonment. And it's a way of rediscovering our inner light. The purification doesn't happen to us. We need to participate in our own healing. And then as we begin to find clarity and vitality, our inner light will awaken the wisdom of our hearts. We talked about this, perceptual awareness increases, intuition is heightened. And as these abilities intensify, we begin to feel our connectedness. This is the beginning. It's walking in integrity and authenticity, finding balance with the heart and mind, finding clarity. In ancient Egypt, they called this mastery of life force, Heka, and it's the magic within. And, you know, they said we all have this magic within us. And this image, this wonderful image of Ra as the cat, he's cutting the head off the patterns that no longer serve us. You know, this is how we do this. You know, think about the things in your life that no longer serve you. If we continue moving in the patterns that make this expression happen, how do we escape? You know, we have to take charge, step into our power, and let go of those things, you know, that are causing us pain. It helps us to transmute that chaos within, and open those latent senses. You know, this is the Great Awakening, you know, awakening all of these abilities that we have within us. And do we have time? I'd love to share this as Hakim.
Yes, go on ahead, Patricia.
Okay, it's only a minute.
Okay.
I didn't take the.
They have same senses I have, the fact they recognize what they can see, they can hear, they can touch, they can make their own conclusion when they look at it. They don't want anybody to look at it for them, and I can say, oh yes, it's only 6,000 years. No, use your mind, use your own. Yeah, and I call all the people now that we have as people, as such people, healthy people, healthy says full capacity of sensing 360. Now, when I work with only 5, so I'm credible, right? So I'm asking now, I'm talking, I'm calling like calling for prayer. Wake up. We have it. We got it. Just know that we have it. And it works. Yeah.
You can just see the light in him. You know, you can see the heart and the light shining through him.
There we go. Yes, exactly. This is who he was. And when he smiled and his eyes lit up, you knew he was saying something profound. But what he said, if you didn't hear, is, you know, when you're only using your 5 senses, you're crippled. You know, those 5 senses often lie to us. You know, we see the world upside down and backwards. Yellow is actually light reflected off blue. And, you know, we have spidey senses. And I think, you know, we are awakening to these abilities again.
That's a very powerful image as well. The hands and the baby.
Oh, this,
So
you know,
powerful.
a friend of mine posted this on Facebook, and it stirred me because, you know, part of finding that inner light is, you know, letting go of all the core beliefs that no longer work. You know, from the moment we're born, we are programmed to believe a certain way. You know, we're given all these labels, we're given a name, and that name contains us. And we're so much more.
Yeah,
So
we are born a baby. Like people will say, I'm a Catholic, I'm this, I'm a Hindu, I'm whatever. You're a baby. Your life, you're a baby.
Yes, and you when you say that, I mean, that's why I went out and I studied all the religions, because I didn't want to just accept, you know, that I was from this particular church, you know, and I studied them all. I studied it in college. I was born with a need to know. But Hakim always said this as well. You know, the hardest thing he ever had to do is unlearn everything he was taught at university, to literally allow himself to open his senses to what he was experiencing. If you're already told something is something, then you tend to allow that belief to, you know, you absorb it, you embrace it. But if we stop believing everything we hear and see, and in this world today with AI, and, you know, I'm seeing people rewriting history and videos and memes on social media, and it saddens me. You know, they talk about fake news. We need to forget what we're being told and awaken our senses.
Yeah, just remember, you are precious life. You are beauty. You are
Yes,
precious
we
life.
are born
And that's all
as
we need to remember.
beautiful liquid light, and the first thing, our parents tell us is no. I'm sort of teasing, but in a world, this, if you are blessed to have parents that allow you to explore who you are, and I was, but we are programmed in school. They call it TV programming. We choose our channels, radio, everything today, our cell phones, programming us, telling us who we are. Let it all go.
Let it go.
Feel your way to who you are. Reinvent yourself if you want to. Yeah, find your quiet space, meditate, ask, believe. I'm going to keep going. This is kundalini, and this gets back to our rainbow bodies. And yes, this is expressed in ancient Egypt. It's awakening all of these things within ourselves. Wadjet is the kundalini rising, a powerful goddess. And she says, I am Wadjet, the lady of flames. They ascend to me, the few of them. And I like to think that we all make it. This is Hathor, and she has the 7 cobras with these 7 qualities. Again, our chakras, these highest qualities of self. And this is a Hathor sistrum, and it's for finding our rhythm and calming the chaos. This is a wonderful image. Again, I'll go through it quickly. It's the judgment scene. And we see it's the weighing of the heart against the feather. The lie was, if your heart weighs more than the feather, you're going to be eaten by a Amit, a monster sitting in the corner. And that is not the truth. And here you see this wonderful image of Anubis, the path opener, and he's holding a heart and the 7 chakras, and sitting on top of the scales is the baboon, and the baboon is taught as the wisdom from within, the heart of consciousness. So they're telling us in this scene that if we can balance the heart and the mind, which is what the feather represents, this is how we find that inner light and move through dimensions, transcend dimensions. The 7 gates, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. All good children go to heaven. I'll never forget that. But this is what we're talking about. This is at Karnak, these 7 gates in an Osiris chapel. This is his journey. Harnessing, both sides of the brain. This is how we restore Mat and find inner balance. We can start trying to use that right brain more. That's meditating. That's awakening our heart within, trying to believe in our heart. Not everybody will remember this, but we used to have these ads from Charmin butter, chiffon margarine, chiffon margarine. And this woman would come out and say, it's not nice to fool Mother Nature. This is what I feel we're doing today. We're out of Ma'at, and it's so important to allow things to flow in harmony. Embrace the unknown. This wonderful quote from Grandmother Willow from Pocahontas: all around you are spirits, child. They live in the earth, the water, the sky. If you listen, they will guide you. Kerry knows about that. This is where I grew up, the woods. The nature has the power to restore us, body, mind, and spirit. Leave the cell phones at home. Remember who you were before the programming. We are multidimensional beings. And as Kerry said at the beginning, this is our truth and our birthright. Connect with nature, awaken the healer within. When we're in full-blown right brain consciousness, we can hear what the plants are telling us. They tell us what will heal us. I'm a tree hugger. The trees talk to me. Healing with frequency, sound. There are places you can go. There are tools you can use, and sound heals. Or, sound that isn't resonant can harm. So it's finding that balance. And I love this quote is, basically, what if we are actually light beings showing up right now for the highest vibrational potential? I think we are. I think, we are coming together for this great moment on earth when we all become one with our inner lights again. And this is just toward the end, Kerry, if I have time to read this poem, because it's
Go
so
ahead.
powerful. And this quote, when sleeping women wake, mountains move. This is what I think this is all about. It's awakening our light within. And it was an Australian woman who wrote it, and she gave me permission to use this poem. There is this woman coming, the woman I am and becoming and will be. A woman no longer limited by male religion and politics, which says she is the candle holder and not the candle. I am the vessel and I am the flame, a mother of sons searching for old intent in a language twisted out of shape by skewed male narrative. Sometimes I use the symbol of Venus to stand in place of the word because it reminds me I am the tree of my knowledge, heavy with the fruits of my labors, fruits that are tart and plump with the fleshing out of me. And there is this woman becoming, a woman whose instinct says if she believes she is like this or that, then her definition of herself as woman stops at this. So I remember I am the feminine side of God, and yes, the male side too. I am witch and bitch and beautiful with as many faces and facets as all the goddesses of mythology. I am triple facet feminine, a third polarity voice flowing between black and white duality, a surge from middle ground questioning why, asking what if, saying there are other colors, saying it's sometimes loud and sometimes lewd, and I am this woman becoming. A woman who feeds on her own wisdom, who grasps the mirror and dares to look at herself and within herself, and allows herself to feel her body, her voice, her story. I am a chameleon living on air and changing, a lunar ray of myth and mystery. I am feminist and feline and feral, a crone wearing her sexuality like an old coat that hugs her warm. And I am a nurturer, warrior, voice, allowing the resonances to rise, saying, I am that I am, accept me as I am. More masculine than male, more feminine than female, a whole earthy woman vibrating with the energy of being. For this is the woman I am and becoming and will be. By Robin Taylor. Isn't that beautiful?
Just so beautiful.
And men tell me
they sink in.
Yeah, I know. Men tell me they love this and can feel this within as well. This isn't just for women, but it's so beautiful. It just, yeah, it always rocks my soul. Dr. Ibrahim Karim, Creative Biogeometry, says there is a superhuman inside of us waiting to emerge. And I couldn't agree more. Come out of the masses, stand alone, and live your life according to your own light. Hakim used to have us say, Yakini, Yakini, may you be protected by the power of your positive essence. And that just means step into your power, express yourself as you are. You are always moving in positive direction if you are being authentic and in integrity. Yakini, Yakini just means believe in yourself.
Just beautiful.
Isn't it gorgeous?
And this is connected to your free gift, Patricia.
Yes. Yeah, I put it in the form of a coupon, but yeah, I'd like to offer everyone a $50 discount off of any of my tours in 2025. So you can just write, if you go to my website, horusrising.com, you'll see all the tours listed on the front page. And if you decide to join us on one, on the registration form, you can just say that you attended this presentation and you will get the $50 gift.
It's just so wonderful. And they're just like, they're like a pilgrimage more to me than a tour. They're just life-changing. Like, you can't explain to people how you're filled up when you come back from that space. It's incredible. Absolutely incredible. And come here, the only other thing that's more incredible than that is you, Patricia, and how
Oh.
generous your heart space is. I think so much green there, so much abundance. It's massive. Thank you so much for that really, really beautiful presentation. That was just a treasure.
Thank you, Kerry. Sorry it went over. I really thought we were going to get done in an hour. And I apologize for that. But it's so wonderful. And I thank you so much for the opportunity to share.
Thank you. Thank you.